As I was listening to memories, sitting next to my wife over here, and some of you don't know my wife because I've never seen you in my life before, but maybe you've seen her. She's seen around a lot. My wife, Judy. Stand up, Jude, so they can see you. I'm thrilled that we are here and that my son Josh is here somewhere, and particularly thrilled because as I was listening to some of these stories, I was reminded of some of my own. And I remember, for example, that I was invited out here, and I've loved telling this story. I was invited out here to fill in for 2 Sundays in a row because the church was without a pastor. And so they wanted somebody, do you remember this, John?
Sure
to fill in over the homecoming. And they said, you know, it's just inconvenient not to have a pastor when we have a homecoming, and so would you mind being here for 2 Sundays in a row so we don't have to go scrounging around trying to find somebody else in the meantime? And so we agreed, and at the end of the service, these folks were kind enough to come and say, you know, that was real easy for us. Would you mind sticking around till the first of the year? Give us a little breathing spell. And we thought about it and prayed about it, and in 30 seconds said, yes, we would do that. And at the end of the year, we quit, and we were out of here. And it was back to them to find pulpit supply for a couple of Sundays. And we lived in Noblesville, did all the time we were here, and that was 8 years. And they came to our home. And I recall when a delegation of them came and sat down in our family room and said, we really would like to have you come back and serve our church all the time. And I said, well, I've got a lot of questions. I said, first of all, what kind of church is this? I thought it was a Christian church, an independent Christian church. And so then they explained that it was the United Church of Christ, and I said, well, no, that doesn't make any difference. We talked quite a bit, and we decided that we would love to do it. I said, I'll stay until you can find someone else, and that took 8 years. But I also remember, I'm not quite up to the 30 seconds. I also remember that we had a lot of fun during this period of 8 years, and I remember, for example, that I think it was the first year that we were here, was the great snow, and so we were blocked out of church for a Sunday or two. I also remember that my wife was pregnant with our youngest son, Joshua, and that he was born then in the spring of our first year here. And this was the only church that he knew for 8 years. In fact, some of you might remember when Josh was born, I went into the delivery room with Jude. And I tape recorded the event, not videotape, but audio tape. And I got Josh's first audible sound in this world. And I came back and I played it on this microphone for the whole audience. I was so pleased that everybody could hear my son's first birth. And I expected at that time that there would be a new birth that I would be able to relate to you, and of course that's true. The other wonderful memories that I have of this place are some of the great weddings. And I particularly remember Kenny and Ruby Dale. And, of course, along with that memory goes how some of these people met. And I remember that Ruby, after she had gone to the Holy Land with me for one trip, happened to meet Kenny. I'll bet you that it was at a funeral, wasn't it, you guys? At a funeral home. And then I will go into their courtship, but I could. And I remember when we were on Father's Day out at the Miller Ranch, and Kenny and Ruby came to me for counseling, which they needed, and said that they wanted to get married. We got married on they got married on the hottest day in 50 years. And this place seemed like it was as full that day as it is right now, but maybe that just seemed that way to us. And there were some other weddings that I took part in. One I sang in, vowed I would never do that again as long as I took a breath. And one outside of this church building, Jody and Ed, that I recall very clearly. And we've had just a lot of fun. And I'm not going to take any more time, but not only have we had fun with this congregation, good night. We took some of you 3 times to the Holy Land. I mean, that was just magnificent. Now I'm thinking about going back again. I just got it in my blood as soon as I see some of you. But beyond that, the thing that sticks in my mind was the just immense sense of unity that this church had all during the years that I was here, and I believe still right now. Maybe that's because you all seem to be married to each other. It's just as I stand up here and I listen to all these stories about everybody being related to so-and-so around here, maybe that had something to do with it, but I really think very seriously that, in fact, I know that it was the Spirit of God that was prevalent in this congregation that made these people rally around us whenever we had needs, around each other whenever there were needs in the family. I remember your fire, and I remember all of these kinds of situations where this body of believers worked as a unit, and for that I have been grateful. I've been grateful for the testimony this church has had, not only before I came, while I was here, the great Bible studies that we had together, the opportunity I had to play the piano on Sunday evenings, and where's Donna? We play together a lot of times. In fact, there she is. And I miss some of that because I don't get to play anymore, but nonetheless, it's been the joy of our lives together to look back on the memories that we've had at Old Union, and I thank you very much for upholding the Word of God and upholding the Spirit of Christ in your lives and being the testimony for Jesus in this community.